Which one of these buildings is more complex? At face value, you might want to say that this intact building is more complex. This one was blown up. This building was blown up. But you have to assume that the definition of complexity includes purpose and design intent, which it does not. To me, complexity is a metric of intelligibility. So the simpler something is, the more intelligible it will be, and the more complex it is, the less intelligible it will be. Because as you add more different and connected parts to a system, you make it less intelligible. And there is a case to be made that it could be a sort of horseshoe, because something really simple could be unintelligible because it's so simple that it's difficult to grasp. But in general, I'm sure you'd agree that more complex things are less intelligible. Now, what you also might be thinking is that the connected word, the connected, right? The elements in this building appear to be more connected than the elements in the ruined building. But that is you assuming that the purpose of each object is the same. The purpose of a building, an intact building, is to be a building and house individuals and, allow work to be conducted and so on. But this system has design, right? Its elements were taken from a state like this and put into a state like this in a way that makes it ordered. It's definitely more ordered than the pile here. But more complex, well, you'd be tempted to say that the elements of the destroyed building aren't connected, but they absolutely are. It's just they're not connected with purpose. This piece of gravel or grit or concrete or whatever is still actively connected to this one. And we know that because there's all this laws of physics between them that connect them as separate parts of the universe. So what happened here is that this guy said something super smart, sorry. A blown-up building has far more components, larger area, more intricate arrangement, more difficult to understand, more difficult to reproduce. These are all qualities of complexity. He's absolutely correct, because the definition is consisting of many different or connected parts. We have intelligibility, intricacy, right? Parts. The intricacy is the connection. Right? That's where things are connected. Because they are connected, as I've shown you. They're just not connected in a way that's purposeful. That's my cat ripping up my seat because she's a demon and a stain on my life. Anyhow. Darwin to Jesus does what they always do. And he just says, instead of explaining what's dumb about it, he just says, "Oh, you're really dumb." Foolish, silly behavior, which Logistrix fights back. He pushes back. Explain how I'm wrong, since this is so dumb it should be trivial. We've all been there. We've all said that. Like, don't deflect. Stop deflecting. Answer me directly. What's wrong with the argument? Complexity is when a bunch of pieces all work together for a unified purpose. Except no, it isn't. It's when things consist of many different and connected parts. Where is this? Where's the purpose in this? If I'm a presupper, and I presuppose that everything has purpose anyway, because I'm silly, then yeah, complexity is something that contains purpose, but the definition doesn't. He also comes back with another brilliant thing. How does the universe have a bunch of pieces all work together for a unified purpose? Can you show that there's a specific purpose? What isn't? Can you show that all components work together to further that purpose? And again, this kid deflects. There's no apology to be made here, Darwin to Jesus, because you don't know what complexity is. I'll post that, by the way. You don't know what it is. As I've shown you, it's a matter of the a good way to put it, I think, is the unintelligibility of a system. Because you're not thinking like a smart person here. You're thinking like you think. Where just because this thing appears to be coherent, it must be more complex than something that's incoherent. But again, all these parts are connected in extremely minute and measurable ways, like theoretically measurable ways. We could take this piece of gravel and trace it back to where it was right here in the building, but then say this piece of gravel is now over here. So the complexity has increased, not decreased. It's become more disordered, and that has made it more complex. But you're not gonna understand this. I'm certain you won't, because you don't want to. You don't want to understand things like complexity isn't a measure of purpose.